there are many incredible moments in Barcelona and Inter Milan's 3-3 Champions League draw last night. The star man was once again Barcelona's 17-year-old Lamine Yamal, who's making, I don't know, the skill of dribbling, not so much an art form, but he seems to kind of be taking it to the next level.
Lamine Yamal. Oh, lovely little shimmy. Brilliant! Barcelona desperate for some inspiration, and they find it. Lamine Yamal does it again. Yet another moment of instinctive genius.
We've got a fine dribbler in his own right, Pat Nevin, joining us shortly. We've also got historian Peter Kenny-Jones with us, presents the Football Historian podcast. Peter, thanks for coming on. I mean, I've got the first mention of dribbling in a football context at about 1869, I think I read. Can you go back further than that?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you very much for having me on. I think the origin of the word, I think it comes from the Middle English word for drip. So, as you can imagine, just lightly touching the ball, which, you know, I think the very best dribblers make it look like it's a weightless ball when they're running with it.
But that's a stretch. I mean, I look at it, the origin, you know, a small, to let fall in drops, to give out in small portions. That's the definition of drip, dribble, and so on. It's quite a stretch to relate that to somebody running along with the ball, tapping the ball from foot to foot.
Yeah, well, especially as you say, when we're considering the 1860s, when the balls weren't the lightest thing in the world. So it probably took more than a drift to move a big, heavy leather ball in the winter and the wind and the rain. But yeah, I think it's just that art form in that time that it was a comparison between like the two schools at the time, should we say. There was the dribbling game and the passing game, and this was still a time, the 1860s, when the rules allowed you to pick the ball up. So I think the word dribble just mainly meant, can you stop picking the ball up and using your feet, because it was more of a light, elegant touch. You know, I think schools like Eton and Harrow were the main ones who really wanted the dribbling game to come in. And yeah, I think it was 1863 when it was officially used in the laws of the game, and that was, as I say, just to really stop people picking the ball up and just so this is a foot-based game, and that's what we need to carry on.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, is there less of it now than there was? Generally,
well, I think, again, if we compare it to what happened in the very early days, the offside rule used to be a lot stricter, and it's, you know, obviously now it's one defender and a goalkeeper. It used to be 3 defenders and a goalkeeper. So the fear in the attackers to pass the ball forward meant it was better off just put your head down, let's run and let's see what happens. And I think even if you look at the mud baths and stuff like that followed, it often was that the wider out in the pitch, the further away from the mud bath you were. So that's where you can get your most touches in, and that's where you want your most creative and magical players, shall we say. I think, you know, the very early heroes of dribbling from the 1870s, there's someone called Robert Vidal, who was known as the king of dribblers. And then if we look in the 1880s, there was someone who's also got a lovely name of Neville Nuts Cobbold, and he was also famed for his, you know, exquisite control of the ball. At the times when he passed away, said he was the most individually brilliant dribbler of that era. I think a dribbler, as you talk about Yamal there, they're the hero of the team, aren't they? As much as, you know, we like to see people kick people and put it in the back of the net, I suppose, as well as also the hero. But, you know, it used to be that thing, the clatter of the chairs as everyone stands up. That's the person who's on the wing dribbling with the ball. And, you know, these early players are certainly some of the first heroes who did that as well.
Okay, but that's a good dribbler who has his way. About somebody who thinks they're a good dribbler, but they aren't. They're very definitely not popular, because when all they're doing is closing up space in front of them and ultimately losing the ball when a pass would have been a better idea. We've all played alongside people, you know, who think they're Pele and just hold on to the ball too long until they lose it.
Yeah, well, that definitely would have been what it was like. Again, if we go back to the horrible offside rule there, which we can complain about it now, when it was that strict, that would have been what the game was all about, and that there was no real benefit of passing the ball to your teammates. It was trying to beat everyone. So, you know, when you get rid of that and you scrap it and you see the better players like a Stanley Matthews or whatever who's dribbling and finding the right pass, that's perfect. But as you say, the art of dribbling maybe doesn't always go to the cockiest player who maybe it's their footy and they're the one who tries to beat everyone. And you've got to put up with them trying to drop the shoulder and beat everyone every 5 minutes. That probably isn't best for the game either.
Yeah, Pat Nevin joins us. Do you consider yourself a fine dribbler of the ball? Was that your greatest your greatest asset?
Certainly, absolutely up there with the kind of things that was most important to me. I mean, I love watching people who dribble balls, footballs. I mean, all the way back to a player I used to watch when I was young called Jimmy Johnson for Celtic, and I don't think there'll be many, and I'm talking Messi as well here, that had more pure skills than actually he did. But it's kind of a long list of players over the years where I've watched and loved doing that. And yeah, I certainly was a major part of my arsenal when I was playing, because if, in the simplest terms, if you can, well, they call it break the lines now, but basically if you can get by a couple of people, then other people have to come over to you, and then there's space developed elsewhere. So the importance of what a dribbler can do in the game, and of course we've had a period now where it was kind of not exactly frowned on, but you know, the passing kind of thing, and it was kind of getting a little bit stale. And it's great to see so many coming back now and looking as if they're an important part of the game.
It's also it's a confidence thing, isn't it? If you've got the confidence to run with the ball, going for dribbling, then you've got half a chance. But if you start doubting yourself, and Yamal will get, he'll go through phases where nothing seems to be working for him, then, I'm not saying, he's going to lose his talent, but he'll go through tricky periods, won't he? You need to keep that massive self-belief going.
Yeah, and I'll give you another example of that just now. If you've watched Raheem Sterling in the last couple of years, and Raheem just used to go by people easily. To some degree, there are one or two other players in the Premier League just now who are like that. They used to go by people really, really easily. Jack Grealish was one of them, absolutely. And you look at them now and they're much less willing to do it. Now, I think there's a variety of reasons for that, for various players. Sometimes they've had injuries over the years, maybe pace has gone. I don't think that's the case with Raheem. I think, utter confidence when everyone's behind you. But see, if you have a few mistakes and you feel as if everyone's against you, trying to do that when you're lacking in confidence because you're going to get stick for it, that's hard. What is easy is if you've got a bunch of fans behind you, and if you try these tricks 3 or 4 times and it don't work out, but they're still behind you and still want you to do them, wow, what a boost that gives any winger or any player at all, but generally a winger who has to beat people. That is phenomenally important.
Thanks very much for coming on, Pat Nevin, and also to Peter Kenny Jones from the Football Historian podcast.